So, Denmark. You always see it, right? Topping those global charts. Happiness, trust, quality of life.
Yeah, consistently up there, near the very top.
It sounds, almost like a fairy tale on paper, this perfect Nordic place.
That's the image, definitely.
But you have to wonder what's really going on beneath that, polished surface.
Exactly. Is it really that idyllic?
Or are there maybe layers we often miss, some nuances behind that golden standard?
That's precisely the question we're digging into today. We're doing a deep dive into Denmark, this nation often held up as, well, a golden standard in so many ways.
Okay.
Our mission is to really explore what makes it stand out, but also, crucially, to uncover those important nuances, the complexities, the challenges that give you the full picture.
Not just the highlights reel.
Not just the highlights. We've pulled together a lot of material for you, official government reports, economic forecasts, but also things like travel guides, cultural analysis, getting the whole spectrum.
And that's why you're tuned in. We're going to pull out the most, fascinating bits, the surprising details, and really try to connect the dots for you. So you can quickly grasp what's important, why it matters, without getting totally lost in the weeds. Think of it as your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about Denmark.
I'm maybe a bit intrigued, too.
Exactly. All right, let's start with that big one. Happiness. Denmark is always near the top, often number 1 or 2 globally. What's the secret sauce there? What really drives that?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is how it's not just one thing. It's this combination of factors that all sort of reinforce each other.
Like what?
Okay, so you've got this incredibly high level of social trust. People trust each other, and maybe more importantly, they trust their institutions.
That feels rare these days.
It really does. And that trust fosters a deep sense of security. Then add in good wages that people can actually live comfortably on.
Okay.
Plus a significant amount of personal freedom, high job quality, and this fantastic work-life balance they seem to achieve.
The holy grail for many of us.
Right. And on top of that, they're very active in civil society, volunteering, clubs, community groups. That builds strong social connections.
It's a whole ecosystem of well-being.
Exactly. It's a virtuous cycle. Trust enables high taxes, taxes fund great welfare, welfare supports a skilled, secure, happy workforce. It all links together.
And you can't talk Danish happiness without mentioning hygge. It's almost a global brand now.
It kind of is. But it's more than just a cozy blanket, right?
Right. What is it really?
Hygge, pronounced sort of like hygge.
Yeah.
It's a feeling, a cultural practice. It embodies warmth, coziness, comfort, usually in simple settings.
So not fancy.
No, not at all. Think candles. They burn a lot of candles. Soft lighting, maybe sharing some cake or coffee with close friends, family.
Yeah.
It's about intimacy, connection, slowing down.
Deliberately creating contentment.
Precisely. It's this cultural focus on comfort and connection in everyday moments. It's deeply ingrained and definitely contributes to that overall sense of well-being, prioritizing warmth over just stuff.
Okay, let's circle back to that trust issue. You said high trust in institutions. That seems fundamental. How did that come about? Was it always like that?
That's a really important question because, no, it wasn't always like that. And it's not just a modern thing. This high trust has deep historical roots.
Really? How far back?
We're talking way back to 1660 under King Frederick III. He initiated some really significant anti-corruption reforms.
1660. Wow. What was happening then?
Well, before that, many powerful positions were held by nobles who were seen as, frankly, corrupt and maybe not very competent. Taxes weren't collected efficiently. The public felt misused.
Sounds familiar in history.
Right. So Frederick III did something pretty radical for the time. He replaced these hereditary nobles with skilled, salaried civil servants, meritocracy, essentially, and introduced strict anti-corruption measures.
So he professionalized the state.
Exactly. Laying the groundwork for a more transparent, accountable, and ultimately trustworthy public administration. There's a long-term investment in integrity.
So this low corruption, high trust thing isn't an accident of modern times. It's rooted centuries deep.
Precisely. And you see the results today. Denmark is consistently ranked among the least corrupt countries in the world, usually number 1 or 2 on the Transparency International Index.
That's incredible.
It is. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, this deep trust is why Danes generally accept their very high tax burden.
Which is high.
Oh, yeah. The average tax take is around 46% of income. Huge.
46%. And they're okay with that.
Remarkably, yes. Around 88% say they're content or happy to pay their taxes.
That's astonishing compared to, most places.
It is. Because they trust the money is well spent on reliable, high-quality public services. They trust the institutions operate predictably and for the common good. It's a social contract built on centuries of, well, proving trustworthiness.
Okay, that leads us perfectly into the famous Danish welfare state. We hear universal welfare. What does that actually mean in practice? Day to day for a Dane?
It means genuine, equal access to essential services for all citizens. Doesn't matter what your background is, how much you earn, none of that. It's a core principle.
So, like, what services?
Well, the big ones. Public schools, right, from primary through university, are tuition-free. Doctor's appointments, free at the point of entry. You go, you get treated, you don't see a bill.
No copays, no user fees for basic healthcare and education?
Exactly. It removes massive financial barriers that, shape people's lives elsewhere.
And this is all paid for by those high taxes we just talked about, that 46% average progressive taxation?
That's the engine. And remember, 88% are content paying it. But here's the strategic angle. It's not just about social fairness, though that's key. It's seen as a massive economic investment.
How so?
By ensuring everyone has access to good health and education, you foster top-quality human capital, a skilled, healthy, resilient workforce. That's Denmark's biggest asset.
So it benefits businesses, too.
Absolutely. Companies get a highly capable labor pool. It boosts the whole economy. It's viewed as a strategic national investment, not just a social cost, a foundation for prosperity.
What other kinds of benefits are included in this welfare model, beyond the schools and doctors?
Oh, it's pretty comprehensive. You've got really generous paid parental leave for both parents, heavily subsidized daycare, making high-quality childcare affordable.
That's huge for working families.
Massive. Then there's the SU System's state educational support. It's a grant, a fixed monthly payment for students 18 and over, so they can afford to study without crippling debt or working crazy hours.
Financial support on top of free tuition.
Right. And then, of course, strong unemployment benefits if you lose your job, linked to retraining, and comprehensive elderly care. It covers the whole life cycle, really.
And this system, when did it really take shape?
The foundations were significantly laid by the first social democratic government back in 1924. That was a real turning point in building this universal model.
Okay, let's shift gears to the economy itself. Denmark wasn't always this high-tech service economy, was it?
Not at all. Historically, it was very agricultural.
Yeah.
But after World War II, especially, there was a huge expansion of the industrial base and then the service sector.
And where does it stand now?
By 2017, services were about 75% of GDP, manufacturing around 15%, agriculture less than 2%. That's a massive transformation.
A deliberate shift, it sounds like.
Very much so. Driven by investment in education, innovation, moving up the value chain.
And how does it stack up globally? For a small country, it seems to perform really well.
It really punches above its weight. In 2022, it ranked 8th globally in GNI per capita, adjusted for purchasing power. So what your money actually buys.
That's a good measure of real living standards.
Exactly. And 10th in just nominal GNI per capita. Looking ahead, forecasts put it at 4th highest GDP per capita in the EU for 2024. Well above the average.
Wow. High prosperity, high productivity for a nation of just under 6 million people.
Yeah.
What's driving that growth now, looking towards 2025, 2026?
The main drivers projected are strong industrial production, especially pharmaceuticals. You can't ignore giants like Novo Nordisk.
Right. The weight loss and diabetes drugs have made huge waves globally.
They've become a massive economic force for Denmark. Also, renewed energy extraction from the North Sea is expected to contribute. And net exports remain key, particularly those pharmaceuticals, enzymes, high-value goods.
And the government's finances, are they stable?
Exceptionally robust. They've been running general government surpluses 4.5% of GDP in 2024, projected to continue. This keeps public debt really low, providing a strong foundation.
Okay, that sounds almost too good to be true. Are there any potential headwinds, any clouds on the horizon for this golden standard economy?
Well, yes, there are always nuances. Those budget surpluses are expected to shrink a bit. Government spending is set to rise faster than revenues.
Why is that?
Partly due to big increases in military spending. They have this acceleration fund for equipment and also significant ongoing donations to Ukraine. That reflects their current foreign policy priorities.
Understandable. Any other risks?
On the export side, things like rising global tariffs or trade fragmentation could hurt, especially that vital pharmaceutical sector with its global links. And volatility in sea freight costs, which we've seen recently, adds another layer of uncertainty. So strong, yes, but definitely not immune to global pressures.
Let's talk about the labor market. We hear this term flexicurity. It sounds intriguing, maybe a bit contradictory. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, it's a fascinating model, really. It tries to combine two things that often seem at odds. On one hand, you have high flexibility for employers,
Meaning?
meaning it's relatively easy to hire people when you need them, but also to let them go if market conditions change, without massive red tape. Businesses can adapt quickly.
Okay, that sounds good for business, maybe less so for workers.
But that's where the security part comes in. That flexibility is paired with an incredibly strong social safety net for employees.
How does that work?
If you lose your job, you get generous unemployment benefits, giving you financial security. But crucially, it's not just passive support. There's a huge focus on active labor market policies.
Like retraining.
Exactly. Intensive job counseling, reskilling programs, sometimes even wage subsidies to encourage companies to hire unemployed workers. The goal is to get people back into work quickly, preventing long-term unemployment. It's a safety net, but also a springboard.
So it really is a balance. Business flexibility and worker security.
That's the core idea. And it seems to work pretty well, alongside very strong trade unions. Union density was around 68% in 2015. That's huge.
Do they have a minimum wage law?
Interestingly, no national minimum wage legislation. But because of the strong unions and collective bargaining agreements covering most sectors, they effectively have the world's highest minimum wage levels.
Set by negotiation, not law.
Right. The World Bank even calls Denmark's labor market the freest in Europe, which highlights that unique mix.
Are there challenges within this flexicurity system, though? Is it facing any strains?
It does face some challenges, sure. Unemployment is projected to tick up just slightly, maybe to 6.3% by 2026, partly as more people join the labor force.
Okay.
And while wages are rising, they still have labor shortages, bottlenecks in key areas. Think ICT, healthcare, construction. They just don't have enough skilled people for the demand.
How are they tackling that?
The government's actively trying to address it. They're reforming education to steer more people into needed vocational fields. And they're also easing immigration rules for highly skilled foreign workers to fill those specific gaps. It's about constantly fine-tuning the model.
Okay, let's say someone listening wants to start a business in Denmark. What's that process like? Is it bureaucratic hell or surprisingly easy?
Surprisingly easy, actually. You can often get a business registered in a matter of hours, and the costs are low. It's very streamlined and digital.
And taxes for businesses.
The corporate tax rate is a flat 22%. But what's really interesting is a special rule for high-earning foreign employees.
Oh.
They can opt for a flat tax rate of 27% on their gross salary, which comes out to about 33% total with labor market contributions. It's a clear incentive to attract top international talent.
That's quite a targeted lure. What about VAT?
Standard VAT is 25% on most things. Pretty high, typical for the Nordics, but it funds those services we talked about.
And how innovative is the country? We mentioned pharmaceuticals, but is there a broader culture of innovation?
Very much so. Denmark ranks 10th on the 2024 Global Innovation Index. It has a long history of scientific and technological invention.
Beyond pharma, what are the key R&D sectors?
Life sciences are huge, obviously. But also enzymes, think Novozymes, and shipping, with giants like Maersk investing heavily in green tech and logistics innovation.
Does the government encourage R&D?
Oh, yes. They have generous tax deductions for R&D costs. Like, in 2025, businesses can deduct 108% of their R&D spending. That rate is set to increase further. It signals a strong commitment to future industries.
So if you're a business looking at Denmark, what's the takeaway message about the operating environment?
I'd say it's highly digitalized. Almost everything is cashless, which is convenient. Interactions with authorities, pretty much all online, very efficient.
Low friction bureaucracy.
Relatively, yes. The rules for corporate tax, different business structures like public limited AS or private limited APS companies are detailed but clear. Foreign ownership is typically 100% allowed.
What about setting up those company types? Any major hurdles?
For an AS, a public limited company, you need minimum share capital of about DKK 400,000, roughly 53,000 euros or 58,000 US dollars. An ATS, private limited, requires less, but the process itself is quite fast.
And group taxation?
Yes, there's compulsory national joint taxation for groups and options for international joint taxation too. It points to a sophisticated but generally manageable legal and tax framework. Overall, an advanced, efficient place to do business.
Let's broaden out from the economy. What makes Danish education stand out? It gets a lot of praise.
I think a key difference is the focus. It emphasizes social skills, collaboration through group work, and genuine problem solving. Maybe more than just formal tests and memorizing facts, it's more holistic.
Developing the whole person, kind of?
Sort of, yes. And accessibility is huge. All kids get tuition-free public schools, the folk school. Afterwards, they can choose academic paths or vocational training.
And higher education?
Also completely free of charge for Danes and EEA citizens. University college, no tuition fees.
That's a massive advantage. We mentioned the SU grants, too, for living costs.
Exactly. That monthly financial support ensures students aren't blocked by lack of funds. It really promotes equality of opportunity.
And what about those folk high schools? They sound unique.
They really are. Folkeskole. They're non-formal residential schools, often for young adults taking a gap year, or sometimes older adults. No grades, no exams.
So what's the point?
Personal development, community building, exploring subjects freely, arts, philosophy, social issues, crafts. It's inspired by this thinker, Grinfig. It reflects a deep cultural belief in lifelong learning, learning for its own sake, not just for qualifications.
That commitment to continuous learning sounds very Danish. Now, social values, Denmark is seen as very progressive, very liberal. Where does that really show?
Well, historically, they've often been pioneers. Denmark was the very first country in the world to legalize same-sex civil unions, way back in 1989.
That was groundbreaking at the time.
Absolutely. And they followed up in 2012 with full gender-neutral marriage laws, including in the state church. That showed a commitment to full equality.
And they led on transgender rights, too, didn't they?
Yes, another first. In 2016, they were the first European nation to remove transgender identity from their list of mental health conditions. That was ahead of the WHO and really important for destigmatization.
So a strong legal framework for equality, does it translate socially?
Generally, yes. Gender equality is highly valued, especially at work. Society feels quite flat, less hierarchical than many places. There's strong social cohesion.
How is that cohesion maintained?
Historically, things like the cooperative movement and those folk high schools helped bridge social divides. Today, common experiences like public schools and volunteer-run sports clubs reinforce it. It builds solidarity.
Okay, and technology in daily life. You mentioned cashless payments and online government services.
It's pervasive. Denmark is one of the most digitalized societies anywhere. Cash is rare. Interacting with authorities is almost entirely online efficient, but you need to be digitally savvy.
And beyond efficiency, any other notable tech aspects in daily life?
Well, their approach to waste is quite innovative. A strong focus on recycling, and especially waste-to-energy plants. They're world leaders in turning trash into heating and electricity. Practical, sustainable tech.
Let's talk practicalities for visitors. It's known for being expensive. Is that fair?
It is fair, yes. Denmark has a high cost of living, high wages. So things are pricey for tourists. Accommodation, food, transport, it adds up.
But is it safe?
Exceptionally safe. It consistently ranks as one of the safest countries globally. Violent crime is very rare, petty theft uncommon. You could feel very secure traveling there, even solo.
So safe, but pricey. Any tips for saving money if you do visit?
Definitely. Book trains online in advance. Look for those cheaper orange tickets. Consider city tourist cards like the Copenhagen card for bundled attractions and transport.
Good tip.
Drink the tap water. It's perfectly safe and saves buying bottled water. For food, hit the street stalls Pulser. The hot dogs are classic and cheap. Food halls are great too, like Reffen in Copenhagen, or just grab groceries for picnics.
Eating out is the big expense.
Usually, yes, especially dinner. Breakfast or lunch can be more reasonable, and booking accommodation and transport well in advance, especially outside peak season, can save a lot, sometimes up to 50%.
How easy is getting around? Do you need a car?
Not usually, especially in cities. Cycling is huge. More bikes than people, amazing infrastructure with dedicated lanes, even special traffic lights for cyclists in Copenhagen.
So rent a bike.
Highly recommended for exploring cities. Public transport, trains, buses. Metro is excellent. Clean, reliable, safe. The Copenhagen Metro is driverless, runs 204/7.
What about between cities?
Trains are efficient, comfortable, but can be pricey. Budget buses like Flixbus are an option. Domestic flights aren't really needed. It's a small country. Hitchhiking is even noted as being surprisingly easy and safe because almost everyone speaks English.
When's the best time to visit, weather and crowds-wise?
Shoulder seasons are often ideal. Late spring, say April, May, or early autumn, September, October. You get decent weather, fewer crowds, often better prices.
And summer?
Summer, July, August, is lovely, lively, long days, but it's peak season, so busier and more expensive. Winter's cold, dark, but cheaper. and have that cozy hygge vibe, especially around Christmas markets.
What are the absolute must-see places or attractions?
Copenhagen is essential. Tivoli Gardens Amusement Park, colorful Nyhavn Harbor, the Little Mermaid statue, royal palaces like Amalienborg and Rosenborg.
Beyond the capital.
Aarhus, the second city, great culture, the Den Gamel by Open Air Museum, Ross's Art Museum with that rainbow rooftop walk. Legoland isn't far either. Roskilde has the Viking ship museum, which is amazing.
Castles. Viking.
Oh, yes. Kronborg Castle, Shakespeare's Elsinore, is iconic. Frederiksborg Castle is stunning, too. For something different, look for the 6 Forgotten Giants and Trolls, giant wooden sculptures hidden in nature near Copenhagen. And lots of great hiking and beaches, especially in summer.
Culturally, you mentioned the monarchy is the oldest in the world. That's quite something.
It is. Over 1,000 years of continuous history. King Frederick X just took the throne in January 2024 after his mother, Queen Margaret II, voluntarily abdicated the first time that had happened in over 800 years. Big news.
Does the king have real power?
Constitutionally, yes. Executive power rests with the monarch. But in practice, it's entirely representative and ceremonial. They're a symbol of unity, above politics.
And the flag, Dannebrog, is the oldest continuously used national flag, too.
That's right. Since the 13th century. That simple red with the white cross. Legend says it fell from the sky during a battle.
Languages. Obviously Danish, but anything else?
Danish is the national language, but Faroese and Greenlandic are official in their autonomous territories. German is a recognized minority language near the border. But crucially for visitors, English proficiency is incredibly high almost everywhere. Communication is rarely a problem.
Let's talk Danish design. It's globally famous. What defines it?
Functionalism is key. Durability, simplicity, clean lines, excellent craftsmanship, but also a social consciousness designing for people, for better daily life. It's not just about aesthetics.
Where did it come from?
You can even trace elements back to Viking ship design of form following function. But the modern movement really took off mid-20th century with designers like Arne Jacobsen, the egg chair, swan chair, and Hans Wegner, famous for the chair.
Is it still evolving?
Definitely. There's a huge focus now on sustainability, using recycled materials, sustainable wood, environmentally friendly production. The core principles remain, but adapted for today's concerns.
Beyond design, what about other arts and food?
Well, you have Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales, known worldwide. Søren Kierkegaard's philosophy. In music, Carl Nielsen is a major classical composer. Copenhagen has a great jazz festival, too.
And the food? Is it just pickled herring and rye bread?
Huh? Smørrebrød, the open sandwiches on rye, are fantastic, a must-try. But there's also the new Nordic cuisine movement, pioneered by restaurants like Noma, Michelin stars galore, focusing on local, seasonal, innovative food. It's put Copenhagen on the global culinary map.
And sports. Are Danes sporty?
Very much so. Football, soccer is the national sport, huge participation. They're also world-class in handball, very successful in cycling, and strong in indoor sports like badminton. An active nation.
Okay, shifting to Denmark's role in the world. Small country, but seems influential. How does it engage internationally?
It's deeply engaged. An EU member since '73, though they kept their own currency, the krone, which is interesting.
They opted out of the euro.
Yes, in a referendum. But they're founding members of NATO, the UN, OECD, the Nordic Council.
Yeah.
Very committed to multilateralism.
And what about the Faroe Islands and Greenland? They're part of the kingdom, but separate.
Exactly. They have extensive self-governance or home rule, distinct identities, significant powers over their own affairs, especially resources like fishing. Neither is in the EU, actually.
How has Denmark's foreign policy itself changed over time?
That's a key point. For a long time, the focus was strongly on peacekeeping, UN missions. But after 1999, there's a shift towards a more active foreign policy, becoming what some called a warring nation, participating in conflicts in Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, and Iraq.
A more interventionist stance.
Yes, a willingness to use military force more directly beyond traditional peacekeeping.
And very recently, there was that huge shift on EU defense, wasn't there?
Absolutely pivotal moment. In 2022, after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Danes voted decisively in a referendum to abolish their long-standing opt-out from EU defense cooperation.
A major change after decades.
Huge. It signaled a clear move towards deeper European security integration. Following that, they announced big defense spending increases to meet the NATO 2% GDP target. And they took a strong stance canceling the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. It shows a clear commitment to collective security and pushing back against aggression.
Finally, let's look at climate and environment. Denmark is often seen as a real leader here.
Definitely a front runner. They had the world's first environment ministry back in 1971, first environmental law in 73. They've been at this a long time.
What are their current big goals?
The Climate Act of 2020 is key. It mandates a 70% cut in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Compared to 1990 levels. That's legally binding and incredibly ambitious.
70% by 2030. How on earth are they planning to achieve that?
Through detailed climate action plans for every single sector. Energy, transport, industry, housing, farming. Everything. It's comprehensive.
What's the focus in energy?
Well, remember, they were 90% dependent on imported oil in the 70s. That crisis spurred massive investment in alternatives, especially wind power. They're world leaders now, over 50% of electricity from wind recently.
And future plans?
Ambitions for 100% green gas, biogas by 2030, phasing out gas boilers in homes by 2035. A full shift away from fossil fuels for heating.
And those energy islands I've heard about, what are they?
They're basically conceptual hubs, planned artificial islands, or using existing ones like Bornholm, to connect huge offshore wind farms and distribute the green power.
Like giant offshore power plants?
Exactly. Bornholm Energy Island aims for 3 GDW, connecting Denmark and Germany. The North Sea Energy Island concept is even bigger, up to 10 GDW. The vision is to make Danish waters a green power plant for Europe, often joint projects with neighbors.
Sounds amazing. Are there hiccups in these grand plans? Nuances?
Yes, there have been some. Recent offshore wind auctions didn't attract bids as hoped, partly due to costs and supply chain issues globally.
So delays?
Yes, some delays are expected as they adjust the tenders, maybe add state support, but the government insists this won't derail the overall 70% reduction target for 2030. They say they have other levers to pull.
Any other environmental nuances?
Well, while policies are progressive, Denmark's per capita ecological footprint is still high. Partly due to significant meat production, agriculture remains a challenge, emission-wise.
What other technologies are they using, besides wind?
Big investment in carbon capture and storage, CCS. They're setting up the framework, funding projects to capture CO2 from major industrial sources, potentially capturing millions of tons per year.
Acknowledging some emissions are hard to eliminate completely.
Right. They also have a CO2 tax for industry, ramping up to encourage cuts. And in transport, big push for EVs, aiming for 1 million by 2030, which they'll likely exceed.
In agriculture, that challenging sector, are they taxing emissions there too?
Yes, that's a really significant and politically sensitive step. A climate tax on livestock emissions is coming.
Wow. How will that work?
It's being phased in, but crucially, the revenue generated is planned to be returned to the sector itself to help farmers invest in greener practices, transition. It's meant as a catalyst, not just a penalty.
And globally, are they pushing others?
Yes, they're very active, leading initiatives like the Global Offshore Wind Alliance, GOWA, the Beyond Oil and Gas Alliance, BOGA, with Costa Rica, the Zero Emission Shipping Mission, really trying to drive international action.
So wrapping this all up, it's quite a picture. Denmark really does seem to live up to that golden standard reputation in so many ways. Happiness, trust, welfare, climate leadership. The benefits seem quite tangible.
They do. You can see how the pieces fit together. The trust enabling the taxes funding the welfare and innovation, the focus on human capital driving the economy. It's a coherent system.
But as we've discussed, it's a golden standard with nuances.
Absolutely. That's the key takeaway, I think. The high costs are real. The welfare state faces pressures from aging and diversity. There are labor shortages. Scaling up green tech has its hurdles.
And maintaining that deep social cohesion in a more diverse world is an ongoing conversation, even with high trust.
Exactly. These aren't utopian challenges. They're real-world issues even the most successful societies grapple with.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe for you listening. When we look at Denmark, is its success, this model, truly hard to copy, as some argue, because of its specific history, its size, maybe past homogeneity?
That's the big question.
Or can other nations, even with very different contexts, still pull out universal principles from Denmark's approach? Principles about building trust, investing in people, tackling problems proactively. What stands out most to you about Denmark's ongoing journey?